I woke up from the anesthesia still feeling groggy, the pain in my side throbbing a dull, insistent rhythm even through the painkillers. I was barely 2 days post-op from a serious abdominal surgery, a procedure that had me sliced open from sternum to hip, and my doctor had been crystal clear: minimal movement, absolute rest, and no lifting, bending, or straining whatsoever for at least 6 weeks, or I risked tearing the internal stitches and landing right back on the operating table. It was a life and death kind of rest, the kind you don't argue with. So when I lay there in my bed, trying to figure out how to shift just an inch to reach my water glass, my 16-year-old daughter Emily walked in, saw me struggling, and instead of helping, she slammed the laundry basket onto the floor and shouted, **, we are not your servants. Get up and do it yourself. **, my blood ran cold, not just from the shock of her cruelty, but from the sudden, sharp fear of knowing my own children saw my surgical recovery as an inconvenience, a plot twist in their otherwise perfect lives. Was I wrong for what I did next, for cutting off their access to everything they thought they were owed after hearing those words? Tell me honestly, viewers, if you would have done the same thing. To understand why that moment broke me and led to the massive fallout that followed, I need to take you back a bit. I'm a 48-year-old single mother. My husband left when Emily was 10, and my younger son, Ben, was 7. He decided he wanted a new life, a new wife, and absolutely no financial or emotional responsibility for the family he left behind, claiming irreconcilable differences that mostly boiled down to him being too selfish to handle adult life. I spent the last 8 years working relentlessly. I built my own successful small business, a web design and consulting firm, from the ground up, specifically so I could work from home and be there for my kids. I poured every ounce of my energy, every late night, every canceled social event, into making sure they never felt the sting of their father's abandonment. I made sure they had the best, the latest phones, designer clothes, expensive summer camps, private tutoring, things I never even dreamed of as a kid. I sacrificed my health, my dating life, and my peace of mind to give them what I thought was stability and happiness. And it worked, superficially. They were popular, they got good grades, and they were, frankly, spoiled rotten, though I tried to tell myself I was simply providing. The problem was, in my effort to overcompensate, I had allowed a culture of entitlement to bloom in my house. I did everything for them. I cooked, I cleaned, I did all the laundry, I managed the house, and I ran my business. They rarely had to lift a finger beyond keeping their bedrooms vaguely tidy. I often heard myself saying, "Just focus on your studies," which, looking back, was my biggest mistake. My surgery was a sudden, scary event. I had been ignoring persistent pain, dismissing it as stress, until I finally went for a checkup and got the grim news. I needed emergency surgery to remove a large, complicated cyst that was dangerously close to rupturing. The doctor explained the recovery would be brutal, requiring total rest. I broke the news to the kids the night before I checked into the hospital. I laid out a detailed plan. I had prepared everything. The fridge was stocked with easy-to-heat meals. I had hired a cleaning service for the week, and I had set up a shared calendar with a few simple, crucial tasks. Emily's main tasks were to empty the dishwasher once a day, feed the cat, and occasionally bring me a glass of water or my pain medication. Ben, being younger, was just responsible for keeping the living room clear of his gaming stuff. I emphasized the gravity of the surgery, not to scare them, but to make them understand this wasn't a spa vacation for me. It was serious medical leave. I told them, "I need you to be adults for 2 weeks. Your help is vital." They nodded, said okay, Mom, and immediately went back to their phones. I should have seen the warning sign right there. The first day after I returned home, things were manageable because I was still heavily sedated and slept most of the time. But by the second day, the pain was sharper, the medication was less effective, and I was desperately needing minor assistance. The house, however, was already descending into chaos. Dirty dishes piled up next to the dishwasher, the cat was yowling because his bowl was empty, and Ben's gaming setup had colonized half the living room. I called out to Emily, who was upstairs FaceTiming loudly with her friends. "Emily, sweetie, can you bring me a glass of water, please? I'm so thirsty." Her reply, muffled by distance and attitude, was, "Ugh, in a minute, Mom." 30 minutes passed. The dehydration made my headache worse, which, combined with the surgical pain, was making me dizzy. I tried to sit up, but the sharp pull in my side made me gasp and lie back down. That's when she walked in, not with water, but with a full basket of clean laundry, which she clearly intended to dump unceremoniously on the foot of my bed. She saw the empty glass, she saw me struggling to just breathe normally, and she exploded. ***, why do you always need something? You're just lying there. It's not that hard to get your own water. We are not your servants. Get up and do it yourself." The sheer venom in her voice. Total lack of empathy for a mother who had just been opened up and stitched back together for a medical crisis paralyzed me more than the pain. In that moment, I realized the full extent of the monster I had inadvertently created, a selfish, entitled child who saw her mother not as a person, but as an appliance for her comfort and inconvenience when broken. Ben, hearing the shouting, poked his head around the door, grinning, and mumbled, "Yeah, Mom, just walk a little. The doctor said walking is good for you." My son was backing her up. I looked at their faces, no worry, no concern, just irritation. That was the last straw. I didn't shout back. I didn't cry. I simply said in a dangerously low voice, "Get out of my room, both of you, now." They paused, startled by the cold steel in my tone, and left. I lay there, heart pounding, sweat cold on my forehead, grasping the truth. My years of sacrifice had been interpreted as duty, and my love as servitude. So that's the situation I was in. Lying completely vulnerable, recovering from major surgery, and being told by my own flesh and blood to essentially risk my life and health because they refused to perform simple, 5-minute chores. I had 2 weeks of recovery ahead, and I was facing a hostile, unsupportive environment run by 2 entitled teenagers who believed the world revolved around them. I had to make a choice. I could cry, beg, and try to reason with them, which I knew would only lead to more resentment and defiance. Or I could teach them a lesson about responsibility, about the cost of comfortable living, and about the value of the person who provides everything. Before I tell you what happened next, what I set in motion while still lying flat on my back, I want you to pause right now and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have let it slide, or would you have hit them where it truly hurt? Tell me. The revenge, or perhaps the lesson had to be total and immediate. It couldn't wait for me to recover. It had to be executed from my bed. The only thing I could physically move was my fingers on my laptop. And that was all I needed. My business is web design and consulting, which means I control access to a lot of things. The first thing I did, still shaky from pain, was transfer the kids' allowance, the very generous allowance I gave them, into a separate, untouchable savings account for their future college fund, and I changed the password to something they would never guess. That was easy. The next steps were more complex. Their entire lives were digital and dependent on me. I spent the next hour, slowly and methodically, disabling every single non-essential service they used. I canceled the premium family plan for their streaming services, no more ad-free viewing. I called the phone company and downgraded both of their lines to the most basic, cheapest plan, no data, just talk and text, effectively turning their high-end smartphones into bricks outside of our Wi-Fi. I disabled the guest Wi-Fi network and changed the main Wi-Fi password. Crucially, as a web consultant, I had full administrative access to our smart home controls. I programmed the thermostat to lock at a steady, unremarkable 72 degrees, disabled the smart speaker access for non-emergency commands, and most satisfyingly, I disabled the biometric lock on the pantry door, which I had previously kept unlocked, and set up a complex numerical code only I knew. I then disabled the power on feature for their gaming consoles, and the TV remote's functionality from the app I controlled. Everything was functional, but nothing was convenient. Their world of instant gratification was gone. The true climax came that evening. I had waited patiently. Emily came home from a friend's house, went straight to her room, and tried to connect to her streaming service. Then came the shout, "Mom, the Wi-Fi is terrible, and my phone says I'm over the data limit. I just got home." I didn't answer. Ben, trying to play his new favorite game, ran into my room next. "My PlayStation won't turn on. Did you pay the bill?" he whined. "And why is the TV not responding?" I looked at them calmly. My pain was still there, but it was now overshadowed by a quiet, determined clarity. "The Wi-Fi is working perfectly, Ben. The problem is, you don't have the new password. Your phones are now on a basic plan because the *premium* plan you were enjoying comes with a premium expectation of responsibility. You have zero data now. The gaming consoles are off. The streaming is gone." Emily stared at me, her face pale with shock. "What did you do? Give us the password," she demanded, "and my allowance. I needed that for the mall tomorrow." "Your allowance is safe, Emily," I replied, my voice still low and steady. "It's currently in your college savings account. Since you seem to believe that your main purpose in life is to be served, I have canceled your access to the luxuries that the money I earn provides. You said you are not my servants. I agree, you are not. But I am also not your automated provider of services and money. If you want the old password, you need to earn it back. The new allowance system is this: for every chore you do without being asked, the dishwasher, the laundry, cleaning the kitchen, taking care of the cat, and yes, bringing your mother a glass of water when she is recovering from surgery, you get a piece of the new Wi-Fi password. Complete 10 essential chores, and you get the password, and your basic privileges back. Until then, you have the basics: food, shelter, clothes, and the internet access that your school laptop requires. Your lives have been reset to adulting 101. The meltdown was spectacular. Emily screamed that I was an abusive, selfish monster. Ben burst into tears, claiming I was ruining his life and that he hated me. They spent the next 2 days raging, attempting to hack the Wi-Fi and trying to bypass the smart controls, all while the house became dirtier and dirtier. But the hunger and the boredom eventually won. They couldn't stand being disconnected from their friends and their entertainment. They started doing the chores, grudgingly at first, then mechanically. They found the sticky note I had left with the first chore and the first digit of the Wi-Fi password. The real turning point was when Ben, out of genuine hunger because he didn't know how to prepare a microwave meal, asked me for the pantry code so he could grab a snack. I told him the code was his reward for clearing the disaster zone that was the living room floor. He grumbled, but within 10 minutes, the living room was spotless. When I gave him the code, I added, "See, that wasn't so bad, was it? You earned that food." Emily, realizing her mom wasn't backing down, finally brought me a glass of water without me asking, carefully setting it on my bedside table. "Here," she mumbled, avoiding my eyes. That night, she got the next 2 digits of the password for being proactive. The aftermath was long, but profoundly corrective. It took them almost a week to piece together the entire password and regain full access to their digital lives. But in that week, they learned to wash their own clothes, cook simple meals, and most importantly, they learned to see the mountain of work I did every day just to keep their world running smoothly. They saw the value of a clean kitchen and the unpleasantness of a dirty one. The emotional fallout was tense. There were many tearful conversations where I didn't back down. I told them their cruel words were the reason for this harsh lesson. I explained that love is a two-way street, not a delivery service. Slowly, grudgingly, they started to show genuine remorse. My recovery was still hard, but now, when I rang the little bell I kept beside my bed, one of them would rush in with a genuinely concerned, "What do you need, Mom?" That, more than anything, was my reward. My physical recovery was successful, and my parental recovery, the undoing of years of overindulgence, had finally begun. The luxury services were eventually restored, but the system of earned privileges remained. They now have required chores and earn their allowance based on completed responsibilities, not just breathing. They haven't called me a servant since, so that's the whole chaotic, painful story. It took a major surgery and a shocking display of entitlement to force me to set a boundary that I should have established years ago. I risked being called the villain by my own children, but I believe I saved them from becoming useless, self-absorbed adults. The words they shouted will forever be etched in my mind, a reminder that the greatest love a parent can show is sometimes the hardest lesson they can teach. If you agree that I did the right thing to protect myself and ultimately them, please ***, like this video ***. Subscribe for more stories like this ***, true tales of boundaries, revenge, and life lessons, because I'm always scrolling Reddit for the next jaw-dropping post. And finally, ***, share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section ***. Did the punishment fit the crime? What would you have changed? Let me know. I'll see you all in the next story.